Hello and welcome to Press Row on Rivalry Family Media. I'm Todd Robbins. Happy to have you along with us for another edition of Press Row. Our guest today, Leominster head football coach Devin Gates joins us. Great friend of the program, great friend of the broadcast world as well. And Coach, great to have you here under, what has been some, strange circumstances to say the least, with social distancing being the norm. Usually we would probably be in a studio somewhere together, or at the very least be together if we were conducting a radio interview of some kind. And this kind of forces us apart. But thanks to the national media, we've come up with unique ways, and people in the audience are pretty understanding of video conferencing at this point in time. So we're able to connect from distance. We get to see people's basements and their, whatever they have, lined up there. It's got a beautiful room going there for this kind of an interview. And of course, we're at a point in time where, this closure has created, people having to juggle a lot of different things all at the same time, juggling day jobs with, evening passions, with parenting all at the same time. And you have kind of that unique perspective. So talk a little bit about that, right off the bat, kind of your experience at home. Everybody's home. Your wife's a teacher, as are you. You have two small children. You're all there in what I'm affectionately going to call Gates Primary School. So what is a day like at Gates Primary School?
Well, first, Todd, thanks for doing this. It's nice to actually converse with somebody. Not to say that my wife and I have been conversing. We've been conversing just fine.
Kate and I have been as well, but somebody different.
I hope you and Kate are doing well. It's been, you hate to pay the price that society is paying right now to have this happen, but to be home, rooted with the family, to kind of slow down a little bit, it has been nice. And I understand the circumstances, aren't great in which we've had to do this. But it's been nice to be home, to be with the kids. I do miss my students. I miss my colleagues. I think we have a great team here in Leominster, not just the high school, but as far as Leominster Public Schools as a whole. The leadership has been tremendous. Superintendent Deacon, Principal Dubzinski, along with the other principals. I get to see Principal Vera for my wife's school, and everybody's really working hard to do the best that they can to make sure our students don't fall behind. To really to make sure that they're keeping pace with what they need to do. And it's really learning for what they want to do. They have a unique opportunity here to kind of focus and learn the way that, or find out how to learn, on their own, which is going to serve them well in the future, I think. But it's really tough when you take away some of that structure for them to actually have that time that they allotted to do it. And hopefully they find it within the course of however long we're out of school to do it. But being at home has been great. I've been able to connect with students, my health students. I have about 150 students through 5 classes. We've been able to connect through Google Classroom, which is obviously a phenomenal tool. Planning on doing some Zoom and playing some health games and stuff like that. And I've gotten some artwork from students who've done nutritional information and doing some food posters and stuff like that. So it's been great to see their work and have them, sharing that, and know that they're at least, feel like, you're not just posting the work on Google Classroom and nobody's doing. Obviously we could have more participation, but it's been nice to see the kids do the work. And, same thing with my wife, with her school. She's been doing some, videos and sending to the kids. And, it's been really nice to kind of see the community come together and rally together in such a, unprecedented time.
A real challenge, by the way, to those elementary school teachers. I give them all the credit in the world, because trying to get children to do what you want on the daily has to be difficult. Now to get them to do what you want them to do from this distance through a screen is going to be awfully difficult.
Of course, yeah, it's incredibly difficult. But we're gonna do the best that we can. This is what we've been trained to do in terms of figuring out ways to deliver content, and stay connected. And, really and I've said this before in football, it's the same in the classroom. It's about the relationships and, at the very least, letting the kids know that you're there for them. If something else, if something comes up, they can connect with you. They can connect with a counselor from the school. These are hard times for kids to be home alone, especially if they have family who are essential workers, right? Not knowing if, mother or father who's working in the health field, worrying about their safety, right? Or just being home alone if someone else has to go to work for the day. It's a tough thing to deal with. I'm lucky enough here where I have my family home with me, and being a part of education where we can we could spend that time together. We're not bored right now, but if I was alone, I mean, it'd be a different story. So it's, I'm sure a lot of students are having a tough time with it, and we're here to help them get through it.
I think some people kind of miss that possibility too, that in education for a lot of students, the best part of their day is coming to school. And when you're prevented physically from coming to school, it makes it a difficult distance and a long day for them.
Of course, yeah.
As you kind of gone through the process, you were saying on the air that one of the things you were working on, the last lessons you were teaching before you went out was on resiliency, stress management. There is no time like the present to teach lessons on stress management and resiliency as all of society.
Yeah, it just kind of worked out that way. I mean, obviously not by design, but we really covered stress, managing stress. What are some of the sources of stress, the types of stress, good stress versus bad stress. And then we really worked on techniques or different activities to kind of relieve some of that stress and ways you could reach out to other people. So it's, taking time out, reaching out, and working out. Those are the three outs that we talk about in health class, ways to relieve stress, help lower anxiety, and to put yourself on a path towards wellness on the wellness continuum. And that's what we really strive to do, at the very least in all of our classes with health, is to try to have the students enjoy, know what healthy choices are and be able to enjoy kind of that journey. So if we were able to help with any of those tools at all during this time, I feel happy to have, or lucky to have participated in that with them. But yeah, those tools are, very well in need right now. So I'm hoping that the students are taking what we learned and applying it in real world situation right now. And we're moving and trying to get some nutritional information out there. Obviously stuck at home, it's tough in terms of what you can take in and what you can do, but making sure the students are aware of what nutritional options that they do have, even if they don't have ready access to a grocery store, or you're able to go out and get whatever they want. So it's been tough, but the information is important, and I hope the students are taking it in.
And schools and districts across the state are really doing a phenomenal job of trying to continue to fill that void. People don't realize that, for a lot of students, those first 2 meals of the day come from the public schools Monday through Friday, regardless of where you are.
Yeah, and that's the one thing the school has done really well in Chartwells. I know at the high school and across the district has prepared meals. I've gotten meals out to some hard to reach areas. Every school has really done a great job of making sure that their students are taken care of, in the meal department, or having that offered there. So kudos to Chartwells and anybody who's been involved in organizing that. It's so vital to our students' health that they do get that nutrition, and I'm really happy that Leominster has decided to manage it this way.
As you've gone through the process of kind of reinventing education and reinventing your classes, what has been your goal with delivering content to students?
Really just awareness. I want to provide materials that aren't, that they're not going to read for 5 minutes and all of a sudden lose their attention span with it. Try to make it fun so they can absorb the vital, whatever that learning target or that learning objective is for the day, so that they can if they can retain that one objective of the day. That's the goal of what we're trying to do now. And then also providing some supplemental information. Like I said, right now we're doing nutrition, so it's about how to calculate your calories, how to balance your the food pyramid in your plate, how to balance your food groups, what you need to know about carbohydrates, about calories, about sugars, about fats, and stuff like that. So it's, we're not pushing as much content as we would if we were in the classroom. Obviously, I'm not there to kind of walk through and talk about every single thing, but putting things out, in bite-sized pieces, no pun intended, talking about nutrition, but just putting it out there so the students can absorb it, offering them a spot to have a discussion in terms of comments on Google Classroom, to have a discussion board and kind of throw ideas back and forth, even just to say hello and connect with a classmate, and talk about the material. So it's really just trying to get it out there, have them aware of what we're trying to get across, retain that learning objective, that learning target for the day, and then try to connect. Try to connect with one each other. Try to connect with me. Try to connect with other teachers as well too.
Is it fair to say that the role of the public education teacher has changed dramatically? I mean, this kind of virtual learning is never going to replace that classroom learning. I know for myself, you talk about missing that direct interaction with your students, even if you get them in a virtual environment. It's not the same as you have when you go into the room and you're able to conduct that class-wide conversation. So the role is different. How do you see the role? How do you see the role in the world?
It's tough. I think so much of being a teacher, and especially what Leominster has really kind of put at the forefront of their mission, is that socio emotional learning. And it's tough to do that virtually. To be in the classroom live, to connect with students in ways other than just teacher to student, but as mentors, as just to kind of see students see you and you see them in different lights. That relationship is so important to learning, and it's tough to build that relationship and that trust through a screen. It really is, and I don't think it could ever replace it. I think it's supplemental. I think you can do that, and you can find a way to work it into education as we look at educational process in the future. I feel like there is a time and a place for it, but I don't feel like it could ever really be the majority, the major way that we learn, the major way that we deliver content. I don't think that it can do that. At least in my mind, the relationship is such a huge part of it, the most vital part of it, I should say. That I couldn't do it this way. For the majority of my classes, it's something that there's going to be a disconnect.
It is certainly missing. And of course, a place where there's a massive disconnect, you would have to say, is absolutely in the world of athletics, where right now, from professional to college, all the way down to high school and amateur ball and junior Olympic ball, for kids, all gone. There are no sports at this moment in time. I don't know that any of us who are involved in athletics really saw a time where all of athletics would be gone all at the exact same time. So certainly a very foreign place for a lot of us to be. And that's a place as well, when you talk about replacing or augmenting or supplementing what you're able to do, as head football coach, in your off season, which can be an incredibly important time for galvanizing a team. This has got to be an incredibly difficult time to be apart from your team.
It is. Football speaking, it's spring. We're in the off season, and our guys are making progress. They're doing really well in the weight room, doing really well, kind of building that camaraderie and building the relationships, between classes. As we welcome the freshman class up into our upperclassmen and varsity workouts. But I really feel for the spring sports. I know Coach Colin Davis with lacrosse. Was really looking forward to this season, and hopefully, things will align and we can, get to the downward slope of this curve, so we can, we can maybe get some type of season in. But I know he's really excited with the guys that he has, and I've talked to Coach Barnaby a lot, and he was really excited for baseball. And then new coach Tara Whitskill at the high school as well for softball. She was really excited. So I really feel for those coaches and those players who put in so much time to get ready for this season. I know how much work goes into it, and I know how much passion those coaches have to coach this sport. It's what I look forward to every year, and to have that be in jeopardy. It's, even just trying to go there in my mind has been tough, thinking about football season and maybe that not being, a possibility. I don't even want to go there. So I can't imagine how tough it is for them right now and their players. It's really just such a crazy situation, and you're really fearful of it.
No, and you mentioned, of course, the football season. I mean, we're all certainly hoping that we will find our way to the downward side of this with time to get the spring 2020 season in, and then begin the 2020-2021 school year in a very different place in the world, and being able to conduct business as usual, that what we would consider both academically and athletically. And we're not entirely certain that is what is on the menu, so to speak, for the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, some experts have said. So certainly it creates a point of at least, as you said, a thought, but maybe not one you're willing to spend a lot of time with. As you've gotten a chance to communicate with your athletes in some way, shape, or form, what have they been saying? How are they handling this closure from an athletic standpoint?
I think we're just taking it one day at a time. We're not going there yet. We're not going there yet. We've always been kind of a focus on the little picture first. On the doing the little things first. So it's really just checking in to make sure the players have what they need, that they're holding up okay. Touch base with all of them last week, and just really to make sure that their safety and is all that they're taken care of, and making sure that nobody's struggling right now. And if somebody is, making sure that we're able to get the help that they need to make it through this. That's what we're most concerned about right now. And then secondary, we want to make sure that they stay in good physical shape. So we've been sending information on different workouts you can do from home, different and encourage them to think outside the box. If there's certain things that they want to work on, research it, and then really try to get creative with their workouts. See what they have around the house that they can use for to provide resistance, besides just body weight stuff. So really just trying to get creative with our workouts, have them stay physical, make sure they stay connected with their teammates. The captains have reached out to all the other kids, make sure that they're doing okay, make sure that they have the food that they need. So it's really, that's what it's been about. We haven't talked about the season at all. You're trying to provide some materials in terms of learning the playbook, just the things that we don't normally have time to do during the season, trying to catch up on some of that stuff right now, and so the kids can absorb themselves in it a little bit right now, and we can kind of connect that way. But we're not talking about the fall yet. We're just not there yet. It's about right now and getting through this moment in time.
You all were in the weight room, certainly preparing for that fall season to come, which obviously is the end goal. But the spring is where the building blocks typically get laid. You guys had a period of time where you were starting to lay some of those building blocks, and were of course getting some things together. Talk about kind of what that experience had been like, obviously to the point where the break happened with the closure because of the pandemic.
Yeah, we went to morning workouts this year. We have a great strength and conditioning coach in Dan Maroney who does our weight room for the whole school, not just football. But he does our workouts and he structures them and has us on a program so that we can progress through it. He really does a good job and a great attention to detail on what our athletes are doing, their progress, and where they need to be. So we have made a lot of progress. Starting on the new year, we were going at 6 a.m. And then we'd have another lift in the afternoon for those who couldn't make it in the morning. As you know, our space at the high school, it's tough to fit a whole football team in there. Even when we did it last spring, we had to separate. When we were doing workouts last spring, we had to separate the underclassmen from the upperclassmen and then switch halfway through so that we can allow for everybody to be able to be on the weights. So I think doing it this way was a good way to kind of separate the weight room and make it more manageable so that everybody gets the attention that they need. So on any given day, we were averaging 40, 45 guys between the morning and the afternoon, getting our guys in the weight room. Our freshman class has been phenomenal. They've had by far the most guys in the weight room. Their leadership has been great. The junior class has done a great job as well. We have a lot of leadership there. So guys were really kind of finding their stride. And that's what really hurts the most right now is they were really kind of getting into a groove, getting excited, seeing some of the progress that they've had over the last 2 months, 2.5 months. And now, they can't accept that it's done or it's over or they're gonna fall back. They have to figure out a way to solve the problem. And that's what we're trying to help them do. But it's tough to see that momentum take a detour, but we're still moving forward. We're not moving back.
Highlight a little for me what kind of progress you were seeing. Of course, you talk about the progress and at this time, obviously from a broadcast standpoint, and when we talk about the bright lights, we don't see the progress. We see the end results, as most people do, when it comes to those Friday nights. What kind of progress are you seeing in the weight room? This is a great opportunity to get to highlight that.
We're seeing guys really focused on bettering themselves for the team, for the teammates. We've made progress in terms of just physical gains in the weight room in terms of guys progressing to heavier weights that they're able to lift. Guys progressing into the amount of times that they're actually in the weight room, right? In the offseason as coaches, we can't make that stuff mandatory. It's against MIA rules, so we can't make it mandatory. So everything they're doing is of their own volition. So to have that many guys come in and do the work and enjoy doing it, it's been really great to see. So we just made strides as a team of guys being able to just enjoy being around each other. We're starting to see everybody gel and everybody kind of finding their niche and how they fit in personality wise with the team, kind of what direction that we want. This is the first full off season that I've had there. So it's, besides the weight room, we've had a leadership council with members of each class that have come in to try to make sure that, we're meeting all the needs of all the players, that the coaches are. We've had coaches meetings and trying to, make sure that we're all set with what we want to run schematically for the year. So it's really an important time for us to develop our identity. And I think we've done a good job up until right now in terms of what we want to be. I think we've communicated that enough as far as coaches and as far as how we want to see our weight room demeanor. I think we've done a good job so far. But it's up to the kids. It's up to the kids right now to keep that momentum going.
You talked a little bit about, of course, some of the progress that students have made, but not just that, about them getting creative when they aren't obviously able to go to a gym. They're not able to come to the weight room at the high school. So there's no outlet for that. So they've got to get creative with their workouts and some of those things. And I know you're getting some great community support from some of those community businesses that are involved in the personal training environment and posting some of that out on social media.
Yeah, the dojo, which, our strength and conditioning coach, Dan Maroney, he's the owner of that. And he also has a couple of Leominster grads and Pete Dandini and Austin Matthews, who helps out a ton. They both do a good job of giving back to the high school athletes. So, they make some videos online and go through a workout and demonstrate how to do the workout. And then they'll put it out there on social media. They'll send it to our guys. So our guys have the tools to be able to continue to get better. It's just, they have to find that motivation, the internal motivation to get it done, because the resources are there for that. But it's nice to see that support, that support from alums. So even right before we left the building, Noah Gray came in. He came into a morning lift to visit with us, and just because their spring break at Duke was suspended due to COVID-19, so. He was back in town, and he stopped by the high school the day before, and we met the first time we met, had a good conversation, and he just really bleeds blue. And to have him come back the next morning at 6 in the morning to come and talk to the guys and kind of share, his experience and really what it takes to get to that next level. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in that room, when he wasn't talking, because our guys were just laser focused on what he was saying. Our kids are really eager to learn and to get to that point to be successful. We have a lot of kids who are really hungry to do that right now.
And people don't necessarily realize just what type of talent it takes and how much work it takes to achieve that level. I wanted to ask you about his visit. If there was a message you wanted your players to take out of that conversation with Noah Gray and what he had to say and what they were focused on, what do you think their takeaway was from his message?
Well, there's just no magic pill to get better. It's not something that if you're going to, after the season's over, just say, be happy with your performance and think you're just going to pick up where you left off. It's not the case. You have to always, you're either getting better or you're getting worse every day. There's no, even if it's just 1%, there's really no in between. So, Noah did a great job at communicating that and just saying it's there if you want it. It's just how much you're willing to work to get there. So it's been our job as coaches and as teachers at the high school to make sure that they have those opportunities, that those doors are open for them if they choose to go there. So we want to make sure that we have enough weight room hours for everybody, that we have enough film and breakdowns on Huddle that they can go and learn, our scheme and learn how to be better that way. That we're connecting our juniors and our seniors with college coaches so they can make the best decisions for themselves as they move forward. So it's really just making sure that all of our kids have those opportunities to grow and become better students, become better athletes, become better people. And, that's Noah did a great job at reinforcing that, in our message that we've been saying so far when he came in the other day. It was really great to have him there and him echo some of the same sentiments that we've been talking about as a staff for the last year. So.
And anytime, of course, you can get a Division I college athlete to come back who has been in those very same shoes, I know for those players, a very special moment. And as you said, really does reinforce it. When you could hear it from a peer, it makes such a difference that it is possible and you can get better and you can achieve whatever goal or dream you have, even if it starts right here in Leominster, Massachusetts.
Yeah, for our guys, Noah's the top of the food chain in terms of guys who've come from Leominster who have done a great job. I mean, even the guys as recently that graduated as Neil O'Connor and Jarrell Addo. Some of our players right now, the most recent guy that they've seen to go and do something has been Noah. And for Noah to come back, he might as well have been a rock star. You know, they came back and the kids just stayed and they asked him questions and they asked for advice. And I'm so thankful to Noah that he just gave his time and really, took the time to talk to a bunch of our guys, to take some of our guys' cell phone numbers and told them they can call him if they need something. It just was really great to see him give back and to really help out some of the kids that really kind of need that connection and that boost to know that they're on the right track and to keep fighting and to keep growing. So I'm really thankful that he came in, and it really just keeps on reinforcing what we're all about as a football program.
In my mind, I can imagine what you were thinking as a second-year head coach with the second year of your program, starting to see the pieces start to fall into place and continue to grow and develop, and to be watching some of those conversations happening. I have to imagine there was a smile there on your face that, you know what, this is what mindset-wise, we need to start seeing players be able to make those connections.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of sitting in the background, just nodding my head as he's going. And I'm seeing, some of the players nodding their heads and then looking over at me just because, they know this is what we've talked about, and this is what it takes. And to get that trust and to hear it from someone who, maybe more relevant, because I can talk to them until I'm blue in the face, and they might not always listen to me. I'm the coach, and this is what I say, and but to hear it from someone who's accomplished it, and who is relevant in their minds right now in terms of guys that they have watched play, I think really resonated with our guys. So whatever it takes, as long as the message is getting across, whether it's me, whether it's somebody else, as long as they hear the message and they believe it and they trust in the process, that's what I'm looking for.
Make all the difference in the world. Football, like many sports, it's so family oriented and it's such a family environment. And of course, we talked about how this weight room time helps to galvanize that family together, because the students in high school sports have to be willing themselves to give their time to these kinds of things. With this world of social distancing, of course, forcing that break and dividing them up, is it possible to still create that community of family and a team while also being socially distant?
I think so, and I think just because of the nature of this break, right? We're dealing with an adverse situation, and just so if these guys know that we're all here for one another, that goes a long way in building that trust and building that bond. We're here in a time of adversity. This shared adversity, I know it's been said before, but this shared adversity is sometimes some of the best tools to bring a group together, right? So this shared adversity that we're all experiencing, it's we're all going to experience it a different way. It's not going to be the same for all of us, but we're all going through it. And I think being able to connect during this time and just to know that we're all there to support each other through this adversity will serve to build that bond stronger too. It's going to be it's in a different way, but I think it's still serves in getting us to come closer together.
And that you will see, hopefully, the benefit payoff of, where things go into the fall 2020 season. And Coach, we can't, kind of step away from this conversation without having a little hot stove talk. So I've got the logs on the stove. We're gonna have a little hot stove time here. We've seen the schedule; it has been unveiled. Finally, of course, you guys have achieved some balance in the schedule as far as having 4 home games and 4 away games in that first 8 weeks. We're still working on that balance of how things are divided. 4 of your 5 games in the first 5 weeks are at home, which is a really great number. And then, of course, you have those last 3 in weeks 6, 7, and 8 that are on the road against Shrewsbury, St. John's, and Algonquin. I want to highlight week number 1 because, of course, that's, you work week to week. And right now, the week that you're working toward is week number 1. You've got an opponent coming to Doyle Field in Leominster that I think people are going to be very excited about because it's something that they always talk about. Why don't we play National? Why don't we play Brockton? Why don't we play these teams from out of state? Well, they're going to see it. Week 1 at Doyle Field, Cumberland, Rhode Island High School will be the opponent.
Yeah, they've done a great job over the last decade or so, and they have a guy who's on the practice squad for the Saints right now, and they've really done a good job. Coach Lima has his program. I mean, you're going to see more of an up-tempo type of style of offense, something that you don't see a lot from our conference in terms of teams like Wachusett and Shepherd Hill with all the wing tee and the ground and pound type of stuff. You're going to see a team that's going to be a balanced team in terms of running and throwing the ball and getting the ball to the perimeter. You're going to see a team that looks a lot similar to us in terms of their athletic ability and scheme wise too. Right? Defensively, they've run multiple stuff. I've seen them in a 3-4. I've seen them in a 4-3. So we're going to see. It's a great. I'm really excited to have this opponent week one, just for how similar I think that we are. They're a great program in Rhode Island. I think they finished. They play in the top conference in Rhode Island, and I think they finished 12th in the state this year. So they're a real quality opponent for us. We're excited to play them.
Of course, people are always wondering, how do these kinds of partnerships and like, how do two teams from out of state find each other? At the college level, there's a method by which non-conference games get put together. Professionally, obviously, schedules are developed between conferences and their different divisions or their groupings, if you will. How did a conversation like this develop between Leominster and Cumberland in order to get this game together?
Well, we had first heard from Westfield that that their numbers were going to be down. They were going to look for another opponent. So we had made some calls, and I called some of the coaches that I have relationships with around just to see if they had an available opening on week one during week one, or if they knew of anybody that did. And we had just missed Tewksbury by a couple weeks. We just missed Haverhill by a couple weeks. We just missed Milton by a couple weeks. So there was a lot of really good quality mass programs that we were excited to play too if we could make it happen. But it was either like we were just too late, or or it just they had an opening on a different week. So it was really tough to try to make that work. So we just put up our that we were looking for a game on the MIA website, and within a day or two, we got a call from Cumberland, Rhode Island, looking at they said they like to play out of state with their first week, and if we could make it happen. We looked at the distance and we looked at the opponent because we want to make sure that we're going to play a competitive schedule with the way that this works now. I know we'll get into it a little bit, but the way that the playoff system works now, we want to play the most competitive game that we can play, and we're always going to strive to do that. That's Leominster football. We're not going to try to play down. We want to be competitive in who we play and who we schedule. So. It seemed like a great matchup, and after talking with Coach Lima from Cumberland, I think we're both really excited for this matchup.
Absolutely, and certainly a unique opportunity over the last couple of decades to get a team from out of state to come into Leominster. Does the deal include a potential home and home? So is this a commitment for this year and then a road game the following?
Yeah, it's a 2-year commitment right now, so it'll be home and home. So and it's I think it's just an hour away. It's just over the border, so I think it's going to be a shorter commute than it would have been to go to Westfield again. So it's it's not as bad as you would see in playing out of state. It's really just down 146 or however way you want to get there, but it's just by Woonsocket, so it's not a bad ride. But yeah, it'll be a home and home right now.
So it includes some excitement as well, both a new opponent coming to Doyle Field and a new place to visit for folks on Friday night, 2 years from now. Other things, Coach, that highlight that early portion of the schedule, obviously, you've got week 2 on the road, against Doherty, which is always a tough opponent. And then you get 3 straight home games after that, Neshoba, Wachusett, Shepherd Hill. Once again, it's that meat grinder that is Division III Central Mass. It is just 1 week after another of some of the best opponents you're going to find.
Yeah, and we're excited to put our best foot forward with it. There was, I'm not one for making excuses, but we had a lot of instability. Not to mention just learning some of the new schematic things that we had, the new plays that we had on offense. But then having to break in a sophomore quarterback who never played quarterback before due to injuries. I mean, Todd, we've talked about this, pretty much every week last year. But there was a lot of instability through those crucial weeks, and we didn't know week to week, who was going to play or how long they would last if they did play. So, it was tough. It was tough, and kids pushed through. Like I said, I couldn't be more proud of the attitude that we had. But there's only so much you can do in terms of preparation and having all the answers. And you at some point, you just kind of got to hope for the best that it's all going to come together. You prepare the best that you can. So to have, I feel like a more stable situation going into this year in terms of who's going to do what in terms of positions, knowing what we're trying to accomplish with our plays, and getting a better feel for it. and then just being able to, they know me, they know myself and the new coaches better too, so they know what we're expecting. They know how to practice. They know how to get ready. So I'm really excited for take two on playing some of these teams and going through that meat grind.
Team 126 gets the fun and excitement of the Thursday of Thanksgiving, Thursday, November the 26th, the 139th meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg, the 115th Thanksgiving Day Classic at Doyle Field. Nothing better than getting to play at home after a really tough road game to conclude the season against Fitchburg last year, and what was a tremendous battle.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was a great game. Both sides fought real hard. I'm excited to play at home this year. And for the first one, it really was a great battle. I think both sides defensive played so well. I think Coach Murphy did a great job in terms of getting our players prepared. And some of the performances that we had. And then, I can't say enough about Monty Graham from Fitchburg and how well, he played and what a tough kid he is. I really have a lot of respect for Monty Graham and what the type of player he is. So I'm looking forward to that game again this year. It's going to be another hard-fought battle, and they have a Quendo that's coming back too, and they're going to be another formidable football team. They should repeat again for their division championship, and it's going to be another great Thanksgiving Day battle.
139th meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg, the 115th Thanksgiving Day Classic. It's just a handful of months away. Coach, while we're on the hot stove, you alluded to it a few minutes ago, of course, this new MIAA tournament, which will not start officially coming this fall, although we'll see some aspects of it with the Max Preps rankings start to creep in this fall. But the 1 year from now, we know there will be a statewide bracket. It will be enacted in football, as it will be in others. It's going to involve contraction in division from what was a handful of years ago, 6 divisions, then it became 8 divisions, and now it will go back to what they're saying is going to be somewhere around 5 divisions when they get done mashing the state together and creating these statewide divisions. Obviously, it's going to change the landscape of football once again, but those weeks 9 and 10 will no longer be just games in Central Massachusetts. They will be games that are aligned across all 3, if you will, sections of the state.
Yeah. And just my own personal, beliefs on it. I think it's a good system. I like the Max Preps numbers and going through strength of schedule that way. And I like the idea of being able to play some of the other teams in the state. I have a lot of respect for all the coaches in Central Mass and in Central Mass football as a whole. I think it's the strongest football in the state. And, from top to bottom, from, Division III all the way down to the lower divisions. I think it's really great football. But I do like that we can branch out and play some of these other teams across the state. I think it's I'm excited for what the system will bring. And again, I'd be lying if I said I understood all the logistics and I know how it's going to pan out. I don't. I know that we have to win football games, and that's really what I'm worried about first. But I'm excited about the using Max Preps algorithm to figure out the seedings. I think that's going to help us out. Like I said, we're always going to be competitive, and we're going to I think we're the only team, or maybe one of 2 teams that plays every Division III team in Central Mass. So that helps us. That helps us in terms of seeding for the playoffs. I don't know, even if we had ended up 2 and 6 or 3 and 5 with the schedule that we have, we might have been in an okay position in terms of how close some of the games were and whatnot. Obviously, we want to win those games. That's the goal, to win every game. But it's, I think it's going to serve us well. Usually, you have Shrewsbury that play each other on Thanksgiving, and that game never factored into the seedings in terms of win-loss record, right? Because we have to seed the playoffs before Thanksgiving, obviously. So to have this come about and have whoever they have in place of that game have that factor into the playoff seedings, I think that's going to help us out a lot.
It'll be interesting to see. And you're the first person who I've gotten to talk to that has at least some understanding or appreciation for the Max Prep system. From a media standpoint, I've always looked at Max Preps because it's been very difficult to know whether the information was reliable or not. Kind of like reading Wikipedia from an academic standpoint. I know people can go in, they can add information. Sometimes the schools do it, sometimes fans do it. Sometimes some random Joe Schmo puts information in. You just don't know how reliable that information is. Do you believe in your mind that Max Preps will be able to create both a viable number that will be able to rank the top? They're talking 32 in other sports, but in football, they believe that number is going to be 16 teams per division.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've had a lot of experience with Max Preps over the years in terms of using it to recruit for college and trying to find some of the better teams and try to pull some players from those teams in recruiting. And it's always been, pretty close to spot on in terms of where they rank teams. And, whether the teams want to believe it or not, I feel like it's usually a pretty good barometer of where teams stand. Not only, locally in terms of your division, but in terms of, how you fit in with the state and with the region. They usually do a really good job of getting those numbers, pretty close to spot on.
It's actually impressive that you say that, and you probably have a unique perspective, be it that you have that collegiate experience and are now the the head football coach at Leominster High School. Because I think a lot of these lifetime high school coaches that are looking at this new Max Prep system, not just in football, but in every other sport. I know at the meeting that I went to and heard coaches talking from other sports, that was their real concern, was more the Max Prep system. They weren't even willing to consider the statewide system because they felt like this Max Prep system, which they came to realize in the meeting, was a done deal long before the statewide playoff vote came up, was that Max Preps was going to be the new mathematical system that was going to replace the Walker system and some of these other, strength of schedule systems that the MIA had devised. To have somebody who's experienced it, used it, and seen it in application to say that, yeah, this is a legitimate system, that's a really strong voice in the conversation.
Well, thanks. And I don't know how. I mean, that's my experience with it. And I looked at kind of where we fell with everything this year with Max Preps and the people that are above us and the people who are below us, and I felt like it was pretty close in terms of how we'd want to seed something. I just think it takes in so many factors. Strength of schedule, the strength of schedule of the people that you're playing. It goes a lot, a couple more levels deeper than what we've been doing, in the past. So I really think it provides more insight and just a better understanding of where teams actually really fall. So I'm for the Max Preps seeding. Doesn't matter at this point, but I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it.
There may not be many coaches that I talk to that feel that way. So I will take that one, and you'll be our guide through this process as well. And you mentioned the regional component, because that was something that I kind of gleaned out of the conversation about Max Preps, is that it not only considers you within your section of the state, if you will, or even within just your state, but it looks at the section of the country and then the country at large and kind of where you fall in some of those components. And then I was thinking about, of course, Leominster adding Cumberland, Rhode Island, and of course we'll call them the old timers saying, I remember we played Neshoba and I remember we played Brockton. And these current systems that have been in place over the last decade really have not been, and we've talked about this before, they haven't allowed for or been supportive of playing teams that are above you, playing teams from out of state, because those systems didn't know how to really account for where does Nashua fit in your schedule? Where would Cumberland fit? How do you rate that team in the current Massachusetts system? Whereas, if you want to play Nashua, if you want to play Manchester, if you want to play Cumberland, Rhode Island, heck, if you want to play, a team out of Florida or Texas, they know how that team fits in their rating system, and then they can properly weight that in your schedule.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just gives you a more accurate picture of that, where you can now branch out a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I love the traditional matchups. I love playing Neshoba. I'd love to be able to play Brockton and Everett again, but it's just the way that the playoffs work right now with the weeks that you have and only the 8 weeks of the regular season, and so many teams that you have to play. It's been tough to have that freedom with the schedule to get some of those traditional power matchups that we've had. And we're going to get better first, as ourselves as a program, before we're ready to take that on as well too. But we're going to get there. But having those traditional matchups, I think, are important. I think are so important. But I think we're lucky in the division that we're in right now. Whether it stays the same or not, we'll see. But we're so competitive in Division III Central Mass. It really, from top to bottom, every team is really, holds their own, and anybody can beat anybody on a given day. So it's, I think we're lucky to play in a really competitive portion of the state, and I don't want to see that change, obviously.
Before I let you go, Coach, we're gonna play a little fun name slash town association game here. If we consider a
All right.
statewide bracket here, so let's see if these. I didn't consider size. I didn't consider type of school. All we did was take Leominster and put them up against some random town from somewhere across the state. So do the following matchups, if you will, excite you? A Leominster Beverly, Leominster Chatham, Leominster Amherst Pelham excite you as much as Leominster Wachusett or Leominster St. John's?
Well, no, just the history is not there. But when you get into the season, it's tough to say right now. I know Amherst had a great year last year. I'm not sure how Chatham did. Beverly always has a strong program, but I think if you're looking to have a true state champion, you have to be willing to play the other best teams in the state. We're going to have that matchup against Wachusett. This is the way it's supposed to go. It's supposed to be a hard road to hoe, and if you can get through your schedule and make it to those points, then you want to play it. You want to play the best teams in the state. And I'd love to play those teams in order to get to that pinnacle. That's the way it should be. I love, like I said, I love the traditional matchups, but I'm also in favor of, I think this is the closest thing that we're going to get to having a true state championship in whatever division it's going to be.
And those divisions will be realigned, and Coach will have plenty of time to break those down over the next full calendar year as we learn more about this and hopefully find our way beyond, of course, this COVID-19 pandemic as we've gone along. To you and your family, please stay safe during this time. We'll certainly have you back here on Press Row, and we're looking forward to, of course, getting started with Coach's Corner 2020 coming up this fall as well.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Kate. Stay safe.
Coach, thank you so much, and thank you all so very much for joining us here on Rivalry Family Media and this edition of Press Row. All the information to subscribe to all the different places you can find Press Row and all the great programming here on Rivalry Family Media are right there on the screen. As always, we say thank you so very much for being a part of our family. And until next time, I am Todd Robbins for Press Row here on Rivalry Family Media. Until next time, so long, everybody.